Okay. So the tortoises have all been given a new home, and they've all got a place where they are safe and wonderfully taken care of. So that's a question that many of us had, and I'm so happy that we don't have to worry about them. So thank you for asking that, Brenda.
Well, she said she was going to make arrangements. She had known this was coming. She'd made arrangements, and I just wondered who. She didn't say who was taking care of them.
Yeah. I think it's a variety of different people, each one taking one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Who else would like to tell us something about who Ciri was? Go ahead and just speak up.
Jim?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
I can, Barbara. Thank you.
Well, Ciri and I came to know each other more fully during Soul Group, which, thank you, Jim, it's amazing. And as we talked, mostly weekly, but also I would check in with her on odd times just to see how things were going. And we discovered early on, and I'm learning to really pay attention to synchronicities. We rode at Old Adobe Riding School and knew Arnold and knew Franny Wolford and knew some of the horses there. And this may sound weird to other people, but for me, Ciri represented a person who lived so close to her nature of God, to nature itself, and to what I call that animal side of us who know. And for me, Ciri had a very highly developed intuitive sense of recognizing and reading the field of people. And for me, she really affirmed that the more we will bravely say something, which I'm finding you do too, which is quite wonderful, to give people permission to be who they really are. And that's the genuine artist in us all, every one of us. And about that, I'm grateful for Ciri. She lives on.
She did a good job drawing that out of us, didn't she?
Yes, she really did. She really did, Jim. And she truly lived it. That
she truly lived
it. Yes. Thank you.
Like I said, I didn't quite recognize that at Genevieve's service. I think it was just too quick, but as I got to know her further, she had this depth that I recognized.
Yeah. And she was able to bring it out in us more.
Yes, she was.
Doris said,
yeah.
All of us.
Yeah.
Huge. A great gift y'all give. Thank you.
Jim,
who else would like to say something about Ciri?
I would like to, Jim, but my video is turned off at the Zoom, not here. I don't know if you can fix that.
I will
The
try
host
to
has stopped it.
I will try to turn you on. Oh wait, that'll come out wrong. I will say that different. I will try to turn your video on.
Thank you.
It
says I can't start the video because you've stopped it. I don't understand.
Oh, that's right. It says you can't start it because you've disabled it. So Jim, somehow your motherboard.
Now it's on. I'm on.
Now it's on.
Okay.
I'm good. Okay.
Good.
So my parents, Bob and Helen Koshland, were best friends with Genevieve and Paul Johnson. And for many years, they were like extra parents for me, and in a different way. And I knew I loved Genevieve and Paul, and they were such dear, wonderful people. But Ciri was an adult and she was sort of off doing her life. I knew, and every once in a while would meet her or see her or hear things of her. But it wasn't until about the beginning of COVID that I ran into her through Zoom classes that you were holding, Jim. And I was just so excited to have contact with her. And we both were, she and I, we really connected at that time and shared conversations apart from the Zoom. And it was wonderful. But I had a lot of catching up to do with her around, passing Genevieve. They had moved to San Diego, and so they weren't in Tucson anymore, her parents. And I think her dad moved back at some point later, but partway through my adulthood, they had moved. But I remember visiting with them in San Diego when I was on a trip somewhere. And at any event, Ciri really, the connection was so strong because I had such respect for her parents, and our parents were so close. I mean, we had Christmas together and all kinds of things like that. It was a wonderful connection. And but when COVID hit, I was, the only connection she and I had was through Zoom or through phone calls. And then I moved away in the spring of this year or last year to Idaho, where I am now. And didn't really have any contact with Ciri. And I had no idea that she was not doing well. I just was in my own oblivious. I've moved my life after 47 years in Tucson, and everything was crazy. So for me to find that she had passed away was a shock. And I have regrets about not doing better about our connecting after I had left. But I knew that I wanted to be here today to celebrate her. And somehow there's a sense that I've had since I learned that she had passed away. And she let me know when her dad died. I knew about that and we talked. And but in any event, I knew that I needed to be present today because somehow it felt like my soul connection to her and to her parents was going to be here in this place today. And Jim, for me to hear what you shared about Ciri and your learning from her and your connection to her really touched me. And again, and I just had such appreciation for her, and her parents were so wonderful, lovely people. And how they were with my parents was very, very special for me.
Elizabeth, thank you so very much for sharing that. It's amazing how you can be near someone a long time and not know them, and yet in a very short time get to know them so deeply.
Yeah.
Who else would like to share?
May I speak, please?
Yes, go ahead, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Bowes, and I just want to thank you for the most beautiful service, and also Phil and Chris, the brothers, for sharing those lovely memories, because I've only known Ciri for about 5 years, but and I didn't know a lot of that history. Very interesting and colorful. I met her on a Zoom call. I share a lot of her diagnostic labels, her chronic illness labels, and we were on a Zoom call doing advocacy, actually planning government actions and other things to try to get more research funding for some of our diagnostic labels, et cetera. And I remember that call very vividly because Ciri's room looked like maybe a hospital room. I saw the IV pole and I saw the bedside table, and it was obvious she was very ill, and she was in her pajamas, but she had bright red lipstick on her lips. And I could just see her spirit come through. Even though she was suffering greatly, she wanted to help others, and she just sort of had that little edge where she wanted to look pretty for the call in spite of how ill she was. And I love that about her. We ended up becoming friends, and I did get to meet her in person once. She actually helped me in my recovery very, very much by, as we got to talking, she told me the things that helped her, and I told her the things that helped me, trying to help each other with our symptoms, because our medical care wasn't, doing it for us. And she told me about the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and she actually rented me her extra chamber for 6 months at a very affordable rate, which made a huge difference in my health. It brought me from being severely disabled, bedbound, unable to do much of anything, to much more functional, much better. And I'll always be grateful to her for that, for sharing that modality with me that was so beneficial. And Ciri was like a pebble in a pond as far as what her impact has done. So, for example, because of how much the hyperbaric oxygen helped me, my specialist nurse practitioner, who specializes in some of those diagnostic labels like chronic fatigue syndrome and other labels, she was interested, and she ended up renting and eventually buying one of Ciri's chambers from her and using it herself, because she had recovered from similar illnesses as well. And now I'm sure she's shared that information with her patients and other people with the illness. So it just kind of continues to have an impact in this community of chronically ill people. I also just want to share that, because the hyperbaric wasn't the whole answer for me. It's not for anyone. It's a puzzle, and you find pieces, and eventually you find healing, hopefully. Obviously, some people are sick for decades and decades. And when I grieve for Ciri today and many days, I also grieve for the loss of those decades in her life and other people's lives who suffer from these sorts of illnesses. But because of her help and support, I was able to, get well enough to start helping other people. I was a nurse for 30 years. I don't work as a nurse anymore because of what has happened to me with my health. However, I can do volunteer work, and I share holistic healing modalities with people in weekly classes, 55 and older RV resort. And I became a yoga instructor, and I teach a very gentle therapeutic kind of yoga for folks that are aging and dealing with various illnesses. So I'm able to do more, and it's because I found those modalities, and one that Ciri shared was so important. Over the years, we've also just had great conversation, shared experiences, and I was able to see a little of her artwork when I visited her home. I would love to see more. I'm glad that the family shared some more of it, so I can take a look at that. But her spirit will live on, and I will never forget what she did for me. I'm really grateful, and I'll shut up so somebody else can talk. Thank you so much.
Cheryl, thank you so much for not shutting up. Those were amazing words that we need to all hear. Because Ciri, she shared a lot of herself and a lot of her things, her hyperbaric chambers and all of that. But I think the most important thing she shared was her empathy for us and
Yes.
the situations that we go through. And she carried us all into a space we couldn't have easily found by ourselves, but that she helped us find. Right?
She had great compassion.
She did, didn't she?
She did.
Brenda, go ahead.
I got to know Ciri during the Zoom talk back, and she and I started talking on the phone, and we talked turtles and tortoises, and we talked quite a while. And that was only about a year ago. she explained her medical situation. Her grace and her courage and her inner peace just imbued everything. There
Yes.
was, she never complained. She never felt sorry for herself. She was always looking for ways to help other people. And
Mhm.
we exchanged birthday cards,
Mm,
and she sent me one of her cards. I absolutely cherish it. And she, we would talk about her turtles and tortoises. We'd hope that one day we'd get to meet each other, but toward the end, I realized that that wasn't going to happen. But I'm just so grateful to have had contact with her and had the example of her spirit and her courage and that inner peace, just that peace.
thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else who would like to share?
Judy, Judy, Judy.
What? Hear somebody whisper my name there?
I heard it too, Judith.
Well, I met Ciri on Soul Connection, but on with Trish here. I see her here, Trish, and we also suffered the same health illnesses and we texted each other a lot. We understood each other's isolation and how much it affected you. And the pandemic actually opened up both of our worlds tremendously. A lot of people talk about, it's like their world closed in, but thanks to Zoom, which I'm on now, it's opened my world tremendously. I was able to be on certain groups with her and stuff. And we shared research with each other, which a lot of, there's several groups out there of us who support each other on Facebook or areas. And it's just, when you have an invisible illness that is so debilitating and there's no treatment, and people, it's a chronic illness, so people kind of get tired of it. I mean, it's like you tell people, well, if I say no, keep asking if I could do something, because you never know when I'm going to be able to say yes, but I may say no 2 or 3 of those times. But, the connection made with her and stuff is enriching me a lot. And so connection has been tremendous also. It's like at church, you say hi to people and you just kind of keep on going, and it's kind of superficial, but through that, you actually get into people's lives and you share at a very, very level, which I miss. I'm this weird combination of introvert and extrovert. I love to get to know people deeply. I love to hear people's stories, but then I have to have time to own.
Mhm.
But she and I were able to share stories with each other about things we were going through. And it's not like there's nothing heroic about having this. There simply isn't. Sorry. But you do what you can. And you reach out to people in ways that every way you can, and it's not always easy. So I guess
Thank
that's
you
my
so much.
speech. Sorry, that's it.
No, thank you very much for sharing that and letting us have that perspective. Sandra, you've been waiting to speak.
Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold, so excuse me if I do my coughing. I've known Ciri for a number of years. We met through the HEAL group. I share some of the same issues that Ciri had, and she was a wonderful resource for information. I was very impressed with her ability to stay connected to the outside world um, when she was so homebound. Uh, we connected on a regular basis, and then after COVID, it was over the phone. And I was able, I found out at the last minute about her being in the hospital and then transferred to hospice. And I found out that she was imminent and was able to go and see her the night before she died. I was able to be there for a while, visiting with her. When I initially called, I was told that she was incoherent. But I also know that when one is dying, the hearing is the last to go. So I wanted to go over. And let her hear my voice. When I got there, she was coherent. We actually got to talk to each other. And I was given some private time with her so that we could spend. I found her, she was a good friend. We shared a lot of similar spiritual interests also. And it amazed me the amount of resource information that she had. She even taught me some things about the computer that I didn't know. And I just miss her very much.
I do as well, Sandra. Thank you so much for sharing that gift you gave to her and that it seems like she gave back to you.
I was the one who received the chicken soup.
Oh, there you go. Thank you.
I was recovering from COVID pneumonia. And it was amazing to me that, all of a sudden I got a call from her saying that she wanted to have somebody bring some chicken soup to me.
Marvelous. I love that. Who else has a story that they would like to share?
I
Go ahead,
do.
Trish.
So like a lot of people here, I met Ciri through, chronic illness groups. And she was just my favorite kind of person. I wouldn't say that we were particularly close, but I felt like when you met Ciri, you knew her. She didn't hold back. She was just this transparent, beautiful soul. And, in the chronic illness community, we have lots of ups and downs. And so I knew, early in the year, she wasn't coming to some of the support groups as often, and we didn't see her as much. And a lot of us, we often have crashes and it takes us months to recover and we come back. And I thought Ciri was just going through a crash and she would come back. I miss her. I just miss, she would, I lead a support group for ME Action once a month. And if she could come just to see her smile, just even if she could only be there for 5 minutes, she would show up and smile. And it would just brighten my day. Because you knew that if she could show up for 5 minutes, that's, she was having a hard time. And she decided to share that energy with the rest of us. And she just was so positive. And she just, she looked at life as a learning experience, and she shared what she learned. And she shared her oxygen chamber. I was too ill to be able to use it, but I did give it a try for a little while. And, everything that she had, she would build community around, whatever that community might be. And I think the reason she touched me so much, she reminded me of my grandmother who passed 20 some years ago. And every once in a while, you just meet somebody in the world who is just a genuine, loving, she just embodies love. And Ciri was that person.
Ciri was that person.
So that's all.
Here's the really good news, Trish. Ciri will keep showing up. Sometimes you'll hear her in your voice. Sometimes you'll be going through leading your support group and you're realizing that you're doing the very same thing that Ciri taught you to do, or that she gave to you in some way or another. She'll keep being present, and we want her. We'd love for her to, all of us, show up for those 5 minutes, but she'll show up. Just keep looking for her.
Thank you. And Jim, thank you for holding this Zoom, because that lets so many of us, as somebody else said, the pandemic kind of opened our worlds, right? I think, Sandra, and that's been true for me too. And Jim, for even though for a lot of people the pandemic is over, people like you who will continue to do Zooms for those of us who can't still attend things in person, it means the world. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure for me to be able to have all of you be here in person. Appreciate it. So Zoom is that which keeps us connected at times when we couldn't be. So I'm happy to do it. Who else has a story to share? Anything else?
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you,
Thank you
Jim.
so much for your time. I will get this and I'll get the recording to the boys so they can continue to hear all your voices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thank you.
Jim, would you have Doris call me?
I will. I'll tell her.
Thank you.
Yep.